Okay, so yeah, big welcome again. So we'll be focusing obviously at the beginning. I tend to talk more at the beginning, and as we go along, I like to just dive into some practice time together. Because really the practice is what speaks for itself rather than me talking too much. But near the beginning, it'd be really nice if you're happy to. You can just say pass if you don't want to, but even just to go around just with your name. Just to have your voices as well as my own. Yolanda, welcome. Nice to see you. So yeah, so I work as a psychotherapist is my main work, but it's mindfulness orientated psychotherapy, and this is mindfulness practice has been part of my life and daily practice for about 12 years. And it would take you a long time to tell you the whole story of that, and we've only got an hour and a half, so I won't say too much more than that this time. So it's become, I guess, for me, a pretty much a pillar in my life as a daily practice. So yeah, I hope you get something really nourishing for yourselves from today. So yeah, what would be great is just maybe you can either just say your name, or maybe if you want to say a little bit of whether you've done a bit of mindfulness before and or what you'd most like from the session today. Or if you don't want to say either of those things, then maybe just your name is fine. And I'm just going to put a pause. Yeah, here we are. So let's just come to the very basics of what mindfulness is. So there's basically 3 elements to it. It's bringing our attention into this moment where we are. And the second element, so the present time, and then the second element is the present place, so where we are physically, here and now, in this room, in this body. And the third element is that it's non-judgmental. So we're coming into this time, into this very moment, and into this place without judgment. So we're meeting things just as they are, with openness and acceptance where possible. So it's kind of radical for us in some ways in the West. It's a practice that does come from the East. And those 3 things, they aren't sequential, so they all happen together. So I'm tempted to kind of dive into some practice in just a moment, but I'm just going to come through a common kind of misconception when people are starting mindfulness. I think some people think like, well, what do we do with the mind? And some people think it's about stopping the thoughts. And it's not that really. So the thoughts, it's like the brain is one of the many organs of this body, and it's built to produce thoughts. But what we want to do is kind of not stop them and not get caught up in them. So it's like we're an observer. We can just allow them to be there. It's like there's a place, almost put them on a chair next to us. They can do what they do. They go back and forth. And the image I sometimes use for this, it's a bit like if you imagine for a moment, like a bridge of traffic with different kinds of vehicles going back and forth. What am I going to have for dinner tonight? I haven't walked my dog yet. What if something happens to my parent? All of these things that go through. We have so many thoughts every day, but we do have the choice to how much we believe them, and how much we go along with them, and how much authority we give away to them. So yeah, there's a quote that I love, which is the mind is a good servant but a poor master. It's a great tool for us, but it's not a great, if it becomes kind of the thing that drives our lives, we can kind of get into sticky business. So how do we ground ourselves beneath the thoughts so we can just let them go back and forth? We're not hitchhiking with any one of those vehicles, kind of going on a journey. If we notice we're getting caught up in one, we just come back, and I'll come in just in a moment to what we come back to. So we're not hitchhiking, but we're also not trying to stop the traffic. We're just letting it be there. And we have these different kind of gateways, what I call gateways or access points into what mindfulness is, things that really support us. Sometimes there's many images I like to use when I'm teaching mindfulness, and one of them, it's like, you know, if you have the ship on the sea and it's very unpredictable what the weather's going to be, but we have the tool of mindfulness. It's like dropping an anchor. It kind of gives us some rootedness and a base from which we can allow the storms and the changes of weather, and yes, we might be affected by them, but there's something very deep within us that can kind of give us this anchor. And so we'll start off with formal mindfulness. I always start with that because that's like the sitting practice, the formal practice is like that anchor for us. And if we can practice, even if it's 5 minutes a day, as Ben was mentioning earlier, it just gives us a greater possibility of then the practice of mindfulness being able to come into what's called informal mindfulness, everything else that we do in our day that's not sitting on our cushion, informal practice. So when we're washing dishes, when we're talking to our boyfriend, when we're doing whatever we're doing. So yeah, these different gateways into mindfulness. So the ones I'll focus on, I mean, a really classic one is, you know, we often we come to things like the breath and the body are really typical kind of ways of creating that kind of anchoring. Because in a way, the breath is something that is constantly here. And it's always in the present. If we bring our attention to either the breath or the body, they're running right here in this moment. So it's very, it just supports us to anchor in this moment. And then when we can, it's almost like surfing, I say, you know, making contact with these points of our being and kind of having our attention rest there as much as possible. And then from that place, this is the last bit of speaking I'll do, and then we'll go straight into practice, because that's where the good bit starts, really. From that place, quite often there's a kind of spaciousness that can open up. And from that spaciousness, we can have more of a knowledge about our own being, our own system, and an allowance for what is arising and falling in the moment. So you might witness emotions, we might witness physical sensations, we might witness a very busy mind or a quiet mind. Whatever we notice, there's another part of mindfulness that's very beautiful, is something called equanimity, which is this quality of no matter what rises or falls, it's that non-judgment. So just to allow space. So we're our best lover in this practice, we're our best friend in a way, really allowing a kind of freedom, radical freedom. Kindness is another big part, kind freedom in relationship with ourselves. Okay, so I know I've said lots of little pieces there. So I'll bring us into some practices, and through the session, I mean, I know we've got an hour and a half. Normally when I do intros, they're 2.5 hours. I'm doing another one tomorrow. If you're interested in that, I can post a link at the end. So yeah, when I do the 2.5 hour ones, we sometimes do the formal practice, and then we do also the another gateway is using the senses, but we'll focus mainly on the breath and the body today. Yeah, beautiful. Okay. So let's just come into the posture a little bit. And if for those of you that are really used to doing meditation, which sounds like you are, feel free just to, even when I'm talking like this, just do your practice. So just come in. You don't have to be there with your eyes open. You can just be there and have your eyes closed. Just already start practicing. So in terms of the posture, if you've got a couple of cushions to sit on, at least one big one, or I've got these two I'm sitting on. So ideally just to have your hips higher than your knees. So if you haven't got that, it's just, you might feel okay with your body at the moment, but you know, just to give that support for your body to be, for it to be sustainably comfortable. Just watching the dog going out. So I'll just start, and then Alicia can join us when she's ready, and I can repeat things. So yeah, hopefully you've got, and you want to keep that very natural. Yeah, here she comes. Great. Welcome back. If you can't hear me anytime, anyone, just give me a wave. So you want to keep the base of the spine just a very, very natural curve there. So you're not kind of tensing your back, and it's also really not floppy. So there's all sorts of the posture for mindfulness, for formal mindfulness meditation, is very beautiful, and it's more than just the posture, because in a way, in the depth of mindfulness, there's a unification between the mind and the body. So when we're talking about the spine, that is also the quality of the mind. So there's this kind of middle way between it not being so tensed, but also not kind of floppy and relaxed, so that you're in a kind of daydream or going off in different things. So there's just this kind of sense of presence that's gentle, yet it's also bright. So it just has a slight sense of energy and commitment within it, but also this gentleness that can allow flow. So, and with the eyes, you can just have them closed, or you can have them slightly open and just lowered down towards the ground. Maybe just taking a little slightly deeper breath, just to feel into this posture, like you're inhabiting it, with letting the attention inhabit the body, a bit like a hand dropping down into a glove. Just to feel that spine. Notice if there's anywhere within your body that you might be holding on, or that might be familiar, or maybe it's not familiar, maybe it's something we're often doing if there's a particular tension, but when we drop our attention in this way, we suddenly notice. So just notice if there's anywhere where you're holding, and seeing with a little deeper breath if it's possible just to soften into that area of the body just for a moment. It's like you're just doing a little scan through your body. And another element to the posture is just to feel the base of the body in contact with the ground. So this rootedness, almost this, if you like, a mountain-like quality that sitting can have. If sitting with crossed legs is uncomfortable for you, feel free just to sit on a chair and have your hips higher on the chair. But if you're sitting with the cross-legged, your body is literally quite like a mountain with this strong, broad base. So just feeling that base, perhaps as if you have roots coming down into this ground. And if you notice that the mind is still active, just being gentle with that, giving it space, allowing that to be there, the movement of the mind. A bit like that bridge of traffic, but perhaps settling into a place that's just beneath the bridge where there's this stillness, letting the movement be there. And if you notice you'll get hitchhiking with any particular thought or one of those vehicles, being very kind with yourself and just drawing your attention very gently back. to this base of the body, rooted. And so continuing with the posture, it's as though there's like this very fine line, a bit like a spider's thread that goes from the base of the spine, where perhaps you have the sense of rooting down to this ground. It goes all the way up through the spine and up through the crown of the head. And so if you imagine that there's a very, very slight pulling of this thread from above, as if you were a puppet, through this crown of the head. So it would cause your chin to tuck in very slightly. So your chin isn't up in the air. There's a very slight tucking in of the chin so that there's a very slight elongation of the back of the neck. And another element that can support this flow in the body is just to have the tip of the tongue behind the top teeth, just in that area where the teeth meet the roof of the mouth. This can help a kind of flow through the body, through the system. And your hands can just be placed either on your knees or in your lap, or if there's a particular position you're used to having your hands in meditation, feel free to use that. And we're just allowing the breath to be as it is, just very natural. And if your eyes are slightly open and down towards the ground, the invitation is that the gaze is like a grandmother looking lovingly upon her children or her grandchildren. So it's gentle, open, kind. And whatever we notice in ourselves, a clarity, a calmness, an agitation, fear, joy, a busy mind, a calm mind. Just allowing this experience to be just as it is. Loving presence, kind presence. Allowing and giving space. So as we go along, I'll introduce different elements of practice, but please just, if any of what I've already said or anything I can go on to say feels very useful for you, just stay with that element of the practice. And then other things I say that feel less resonant for you, just let them go like water off the mountain. So if you want an additional element of practice to add in right now for grounding, you can either just stay as we have been, just allowing and being present with this experience as it is, this moment as it is. Or if you'd like some more grounding, let's just bring our attention for a moment just to the breath. And if you notice your attention going off in this or that thought, again with real kindness, coming back to the body and or the breath. So just coming to notice the breath, just like this open, kind curiosity of the breath just as it is in its natural state. Notice how and where the body expands with the in-breath, and where perhaps there's a softening with the out-breath. Sensing that grounding quality of the body in contact with the ground and this breath. And if there are elements here that are less comfortable, perhaps the mind is very persistent, whatever else you're noticing, sometimes what we do is we end up kind of contracting or tensing up around that element, trying to push it away, but seeing if it's possible just to open, just to have faith. It's a huge practice of faith, mindfulness. Have faith in just this presence and allowing it to be there, allowing it to be as it is, allowing yourself to be as you are, allowing this present experience to be as it is. With the kindness, presence, and witnessing of breath and body. So softening where possible in relationship to anything that is arising. And allowing this sense of the groundedness, this broad base of the mountain, of this body and this breath to hold you and support you. To provide, if you like, a kind of bowl in which your experience can come and go, can pass through, can rise and it can fall. And another element of the posture is, so there's this straight line between the crown of the head and the base of the spine. So the head is over the shoulders, it's over the hips. And just for this meditation, we'll finish in about 2 or 3 minutes. If you need an extra input for your attention, you can imagine for a moment that you are drawing the breath up from the start of the in-breath, up from the base of the spine, all the way up the spine, over the top of the head, and with the out-breath coming right down the front of the body. And then doing that again from the base of the spine, drawing the in-breath up the spine, up to the crown of the head, and down over the front of the body. This can be a helpful practice just to support the initial anchoring. But if you already have this sense of anchoring, you no need to do that, or you can even let that practice go after a while and just be open, here, present, letting go, trusting as best we can. So I'll just be quiet for these last 2 minutes and then I'll ring the bell. So just 2 minutes, just quiet meditation together. And just remembering we have this anchor, either the breath or the body, in any moment. Well done. I know that was fairly long for a first one. So just going to put a little pause on the recording for a moment just to see if there's any questions or comments around that. So we've got a real groundedness in these hips. So just to repeat that as I start the recording again. So this fine line going all the way from the sky down through this crown of the head, through the neck, through the torso, down through this, in a way, rock-like base of the body that's immovable, strong, and that can hold our experience. And let's just notice the quality of the mind for a moment. So we can just pay full attention. If you want to stay with that line and this groundedness of the body, please just stay with that. If the mind is busy, maybe come on to this aspect I'm going to talk about now. So let's just notice, without any judgment at all, without any intention to change anything at all, just to open to how this mind is right now. So we're just here with this open, kind curiosity, this presence, the presence of this spine, of this breath, of this line that connects the earth and the sky through our being. From these places, from this breath and this body, just to witness with kindness and presence this mind. So whether it feels very full right now, whether it feels very calm, whether you're enjoying and it feels pleasant, whatever the state of the mind is, or whether it's annoying or unpleasant. So just witnessing. Again, this radical presence and openness to just how it is. So if you're noticing thoughts about the future, just notice each thought, a bit like that vehicle passing. Letting it go. And the letting go is simply not to follow, just to put it down. Let it pass, a bit like, I don't know if you can hear the traffic passing near my house sometimes. Just allowing it to be there. And we can do the same. I know this is a huge topic I'm introducing just very quickly here, but we can actually do the same with fear or anxiety, almost just giving it a seat next to us. And it's like in meditation, it's like we become a kind and wise sovereign, like our own king and queen of our own internal kingdoms. And the invitation is that as that king or queen, you're not controlling, but you have a deep knowledge and you allow a right place for each part of ourselves, the internal prostitutes, the robbers, the merchants, all the different parts of ourselves, the one who's afraid, the ones who are peaceful, the elderly, the children. So every single part of our kingdom, the dragons, the monsters, the supportive beings, fairies, whatever you want to, I'm being imaginative here, but all these different parts of ourselves, the joys, just letting them all be here and move around as they do. But you're sitting, it's like you're sitting on your throne, which is this breath and this body. You're sitting as this seat, this great presence that we can foster, that we can feed. And if the mind still feels very, very active, just with real kindness, just on the in-breath, we can say the word here. And on the out-breath, the word now. On the in-breath, here. And on the out-breath, now. On the in-breath here. And on the out-breath now. So you can stay with the here and now practice, or when you feel that that practice has offered a little bit more grounding and rooting for yourself, you can let that go and just allow this sense of presence, where there's just a letting go of all that we think we are into simply being. So just staying with the here and now, and or letting it go when you like, and I'll just ring the bell after another 2 minutes sitting. Beautiful. Okay. So the whole body weight given into this earth, letting go, softening, releasing. And giving a little attention to the ankles and feet. Becoming a little bit intimate with how they are in this moment, just as they are. And the calves and the shins, just noticing any sensations in the calves or shins, the temperature. Are they tingly? Are they relaxed? Is there any holding or tension there? So just noticing, opening to how they are. And letting their weight and all of the condition of these calves, shins, feet and ankles be held, received and heard by the ground beneath. Softening and settling through the knees and the thighs. Their weight fully dropping down, fully being held, accepted just as they are in this moment. We can let go into the support of this gravity beneath. And the hips, just noticing, becoming intimate with the hips, the intricacies of the hips, any sensations, receiving, listening, allowing their weight being held so we don't need to hold. Allowing any sensations. Sometimes sensations we notice can be like a kaleidoscope, gradually shifting and changing. Some sensations stay for longer. Just receiving, allowing it all to drop down to the surface beneath. And this beautiful spine, the intricate, incredible spine with all of the vertebrae, like a string of pearls releasing one by one into the ground. The muscles around the spine, perhaps expanding with the in-breath and softening with the out-breath. Opening to the sense of the heartbeat. The loudest organ of the body, perhaps, so that we might hear. Just noticing the rhythm, the movement. And the soft organs in the front of the body, the tummy, the chest. Being held in the bowl of the spine, and the spine in the bowl of the ground and the earth. And the shoulders. Just noticing any sensations, these subtle, intricate areas in these beautiful joints. Letting the attention embrace and travel through all areas of the shoulders. Softening kind presence. Releasing. The upper arms, the elbows, lower arms, the hands, the joints of the hands, the fingers. Noticing if there's any tingling or a sense of the life running through the hands, the temperature. Opening as if for the first time to an experience of these incredible parts of the body. That have functioned in health and wellness for many years. Giving thanks and allow them to release into this ground. Softening, letting go. And the head and the neck. Relating with this head in its physical aspect, the weight. Allowing the breath just to soften through the back, the top, base of this head. And through these intricacies of this neck and the throat, the bridge between the body and the head. And the facial muscles, the eyes, the jaw, all melting back and softening, noticing where there may be any holding. And then just the whole body present. The weight received, the life, the presence in each part of the body, in unified attention with the whole of your being. Allowing, noticing, witnessing kind presence and attention with all that's here in this incredible landscape. Softening, settling, deepening, and widening. Maybe just for this final moment, just receiving the echo of how this session has been for you, this time. Perhaps allowing it to absorb into the marrow of our bones, our being, our muscles, just whatever we're taking perhaps away with us, and perhaps let your body know what that might be, your intuition, your embodied knowing. And whenever you're ready, just in the next minute and a half, just slowly wiggling the fingers and toes. And just coming to bring yourself up to sitting. Just taking your time. Come back. Okay, so that's I had to kind of fly through that. It'd be lovely to give all of this stuff more time. I get a bit passionate about it all. So it's been really lovely to be with you all, and a really nice session, at least for me. So thank you. So for those watching this recording, thank you for being here, and much love, and go well. Thank you for being here. Bye bye.